Well, I've been covering it as a columnist since sort of 2001, 2000, and I first noticed that blogs were starting to gain some traction there, has its roots in the dot-com bust, when big media, big companies were trying to kind of make money from the internet and failed. And the guys that were the inventors of those ideas found themselves out of work and went away and tried to kind of come up with a new definition of what the internet was and how it might work, how it might make money, but how it might sort of benefit them individually. So it was a sort of collective itch that they wanted to scratch. And so I think that what was most exciting about it was that they realized it was all about communication. It wasn't about trying to make money, it wasn't about broadcasting or publishing so much as interaction. So the cliches now, which I'm sure you'll hear a lot of, is about the conversation. It's about two people sort of talking on equal terms. And it's a truism, but that's actually the case. So social media, I'm not crazy about the term myself. I'm not crazy about the term Web 2.0. Social networking is a little bit better because it defines more clearly what is actually taking place, which is it could be as simple as a conversation between two people, or it could be as complex as a Twitter storm, where you have hundreds of thousands of people suddenly finding out, for example, the quake happening in China, which really broke on Twitter more so than on traditional media. So people were reporting that they were feeling shakes in Beijing and reporting that before even the geographical survey, before the main news wires got it. So on one level conversation, on another level information and news. That's, I guess, how I would define it. Well, I think now people realise that, frankly speaking, there's a lot of money in this. At the time, it was a very peripheral affair. When I first started writing about blogs in 2001, 2002, and then you had to explain what a blog was, and everybody thought it was a very silly word, etc. And the internet is full of silly words. You have to kind of get used to that. Now, reading the Herald Tribune this morning, I counted 3 stories which quoted bloggers. So what has really happened is that what was fringe then has now become mainstream. And there are very few journalists in the world now who would get away with writing dismissive articles, although sometimes they still do, about what a blogger does. And so I think what has happened is that there's kind of respect for the medium. At the same time, the medium has now spread in a great speed in lots of different directions until we're not quite sure what it is that we're dealing with. So we're talking about Microsoft buying a chunk of Yahoo and then buying Facebook, perhaps as part of a kind of strategy in order to dominate search, because they recognize that Facebook is a closed field. So I think now the big companies are beginning to understand it, but I don't think there's any single person that kind of really can grasp what this thing is, and that's what makes it so exciting.